Welcome back to the Deep Dive. Today, we're going to get into two ideas that, well, on the surface, they seem completely separate. We're talking local school gardens and global trade law.
Which sound miles apart.
Right. But they are fundamentally woven together. We're diving into some source material from a listener who's really focused on how we can optimize educational resources and, at the same time, secure our local heritage.
And I think we have to start by, tackling the elephant in the room here.
Okay.
It's the anxiety that a lot of school directors and teachers feel when they first hear about the Plant Genetic Conservation Project or RSPG. The immediate reaction is, oh, great, more paperwork.
More extra work.
Exactly, just another box to tick on top of an already packed curriculum.
And I totally get that frustration. We've all been there. But what's interesting is the source material immediately pushes back on that idea. It reframes the whole project.
It does. It says thinking of it as a project is sort of the first mistake. It's not more work to be done. It's a resource that's already there. A data goldmine. That's a better way to think of it. It's a fully subsidized, ready-to-use informational resource, a huge activity pool that's just waiting to be used to meet new ministry policies like active learning without anyone having to invent things from scratch.
Okay, so our mission today is really twofold. First, let's explore how RSPG isn't just homework, but an engine for real educational advancements, DPA for teachers.
And then second, we have to connect that local work to the global stage. We need to understand how geographical indication, or GI, becomes this necessary legal shield for those very products.
Let's jump right into that first part then. The RSPG is a real-world STEM engine. I mean, if the whole point of modern education is to get away from rote memorization and towards real problem solving,
which is the heart of STEM, really,
then using the school's own natural resources, documented through RSPG, seems like a massive shortcut.
It connects theory to reality instantly. Let's take the S for science. The activities that students do for RSPG, surveying local plants, recording their properties, finding scientific names.
All that classification work.
That isn't busy work. That is the scientific process right there in their immediate environment.
So the curriculum is right outside the classroom window. You don't need to open a textbook to teach biodiversity.
Exactly. You can teach ecosystems, life cycles, chemical properties, all using plants the students have just documented themselves.
Which brings us to T for technology and coding. This is where I think a lot of schools feel stuck, like they need a huge budget.
Right, but the technology here is actually very practical. It's about taking abstract ideas and making them functional.
So we're not talking about buying a bunch of 3D printers.
No, not at all. It's about treating the information they've collected as big data. Just using the RSPG system to log all that local resource data is a direct application of information technology.
So the students are managing a real-world database.
A database of names, locations, medicinal uses, and this is where the coding becomes so interesting. Instead of just doing abstract drills, you can have them build simple, useful apps.
What kind of apps?
Oh, an app to manage the inventory of the school's herbal garden. Or maybe a website to promote a community product, like a special herbal tea from their region. That's applied coding. It solves a real problem.
And once they have that data and the tech tools, they can move into E for engineering and design thinking.
It's the natural next step. They're using data to design solutions to actual community challenges.
So what does that look like on the ground? What kind of engineering?
It's very practical. Maybe they design an automated drip irrigation system for the RSPG plant beds, to optimize water use. Or they could develop a small solar-powered dryer for the herbs they harvest.
Which would improve quality control and add immediate economic value.
Exactly. And finally, you have M for mathematics. This often feels sort of shoehorned into projects, but here it's just necessary.
It's purely functional.
You have to calculate yield volumes, you have to measure the planting areas, or, and this is crucial, you have to calculate the ingredient proportions for processing like the right ratio of turmeric to honey to make a consistent, effective product.
It's the synthesis of it all that's so powerful. The RSPG data just organically links all four fields of STEM. It makes these abstract concepts totally tangible.
And the power of this RSPG data, it extends way beyond just the STEM fields. I mean, if the ministry's big policy push is for active learning, learning by doing, then this resource becomes the centerpiece for every subject.
That's the big efficiency gain for teachers, isn't it? You use one core data set, let's say the history of a single native plant, and you use that across multiple classes all year.
Instead of inventing 5 different projects for 5 different subjects.
Right.
So let's just walk through it. For a Thai language class, students aren't just writing generic essays, they're writing persuasive articles, maybe poetry, or even professional guides about native plants like yanang, the Eisen herb.
So they're developing communication skills while also learning to value their own local culture.
And that leads you right into social studies and history. You can study the history of resource use in the community. How did those ancient salt ponds in Nan develop? What was the culture and economy around raising silkworms in Kamkin?
History becomes rooted in the local soil, not just dates in a book.
Then you have art class. That scientific documentation can be turned into branding. Students can do botanical drawings, create picture books, or design logos and packaging for the community products that came out of the project.
They're basically doing real design work for a real client, their community.
And here's the most important link to the global mission: foreign language. The students can translate all that scientific data and usage information into English or other languages.
Preparing those local products for the international market.
Exactly. It directly supports that national goal of being the kitchen of the world and medicine of the world. The takeaway for any educator listening is that this is an efficiency tool. It reduces your workload, and it aligns perfectly with modern methods like project-based learning.
Okay, but let's be mercenary for a minute. We have to address the question every single teacher is asking. What's in it for me? How does this help my career?
The professional advancement piece?
Yes. All this is great, but how does documenting local herbs help a teacher get that promotion through the digital performance appraisal system, the DPA?
This is the absolute key that turns this from work into a career investment. The source is really clear on this. The work you do for RSPG is direct, verifiable evidence for your DPA submission.
Because you need documentation that proves your impact.
Exactly. You have to prove you've improved learning management and student quality. And because RSPG is focused on real-world projects, the evidence it generates is output-driven, not just theoretical.
So, for example, your lesson plans.
Yes. You can submit lesson plans that show how you integrated active learning or STEM using the school's botanical garden data. That's a concrete deliverable.
And then student outcomes, the performance report.
Right. And your success metrics are tangible. Did students correctly survey the plants? Did they create a standard herbarium? Did they successfully design a prototype? These are measurable products, not just essays.
And the project itself creates a kind of automatic audit trail.
It absolutely does. All the documentation required for the 9 tasks of RSPG, the photos, the survey reports, the prototypes, those are all admissible DPA documents. They show continuous effort and real results.
So the key takeaway here is that a DPA evaluation is probably going to favor results from solving a real problem, like developing a local herbal pest control that actually works, over some purely theoretical academic paper.
It's a powerful tool for career advancement, precisely because it demands real impact. And that sense of real impact leads us right into our second major topic.
Okay.
Because once a school, through RSPG, identifies and develops a truly unique local resource, it immediately becomes vulnerable.
Vulnerable on the global stage. And this is where geographical indication, or GI, comes in. The source calls it a super protective shield. Why is that kind of aggressive legal defense needed?
It's all about protecting intellectual property from being stolen by larger trading nations. If a product's name becomes valuable, but you don't legally tie that name to its origin, the name just becomes generic.
And anyone can copy it.
Anyone can replicate it somewhere else, flood the market, and completely undercut the authentic original product.
So GI stops that by tying the name to the location. What's the specific example from the source?
The best example is the pomelo from Nakhon Pathom. GI status means that even if a competitor in another country successfully grows that exact same variety of pomelo,
They still can't call it that.
they cannot legally sell it as Khao Tengkwa pomelo from Thailand. GI protects that name specifically for the Nakhon Pathom region. Without that shield, the value of the name just evaporates.
And that protection creates a brand identity and, I assume, a much higher market value.
A significantly higher price. Consumers all over the world associate that specific origin with a guarantee of quality. It stops high-quality Thai goods from having to compete with cheap, mass-produced knockoffs.
And for the country as a whole, having these internationally recognized GI products gives you more leverage in trade negotiations.
You're not just selling commodities anymore. You are exporting high-value, legally protected assets.
So how does a community get that protection? It sounds like a pretty involved process.
It is a specialized multi-step process. You have to think of it as a formal intellectual property right. It takes a lot of organization and proof.
What's the first hurdle for a local group that thinks they have something special, maybe something they discovered through this RSPG work?
Step one is community organization. The local communities or the agricultural groups, like the Kom lychee growers in Samet Songkram, they have to get formally organized first.
Meaning what exactly?
They have to agree as a group on joint production standards, on quality control, on the exact geographic boundaries. Without that internal structure and consistency, you can't get or maintain GI status.
Okay, that makes sense. You need standards. Once they have that, they move to the legal part.
Yes, the domestic registration. This means submitting a lot of data and evidence to the Thai Department of Intellectual Property. You have to prove the link between the product's unique characteristics, its flavor, its texture, and its specific geographic origin.
And that claim has to be verifiable.
Scientifically and historically, yes. Then, once you have domestic protection, you have to do the third non-negotiable step,
which is going international.
Exactly. You apply for protection in your key trading partners, the EU, China, wherever, through international channels. This is where that local work in the school garden turns into a global legal defense.
And once all that is secured, what's the final gain for that community?
They get total control over their product's name and its brand. They have legal protection, and they can use the internationally recognized GI symbol, which tells a buyer anywhere in the world that this is 100% authentic. It builds trust, and it ensures the money flows back to that community.
This has been a really fascinating deep dive. It shows just how connected the micro and macro levels are. So to sum up, the RSPG project isn't a burden, it's an educational tool, a data goldmine that fuels innovation, supports active learning, and gives teachers real evidence for their DPA.
And then geographical indication, GI, is the essential global defense for that innovation. It's the legal shield that makes sure the unique products developed locally aren't stolen or devalued on the international market. It allows local heritage to command global value.
It's really an entire ecosystem, from knowledge to development to commerce, and it all starts right there at the local level.
Which leaves us with a final thought for you to consider. If the RSPG is successful in documenting thousands of unique local plant varieties, it's laying the foundation for incredible economic development. So the question isn't if these resources are valuable, the question is which one of those plants, currently unknown to the world, is going to be the next GI protected product that completely changes the future of its community. Global success really does start with careful documentation in the local school garden.